Hey everybody, good morning. It's Thursday, getting close to Friday. Yeah, I haven't done a video in a while. Just kind of been busy with life, doing the military and everything, and just kind of doing a lot more home repairs of the house. But without further ado, so I did some research on YouTube, and I feel like, in my opinion, it's getting kind of hard to find um, kind of YouTube documentaries and YouTubers that have done them that are making them in their own words, like about Dale Earnhardt Sr. And you see some of the videos like Slap Shoes and some other guys out there, like that put down, like a little story about them, and they've got like the flashbacks of them winning and they're narrating the videos and stuff. I haven't seen a lot of those, so I figured I'd make a little video, and kind of give you guys in my own words what I remembered of Dale Earnhardt Sr., what I've I guess gathered from historical readings and accounts, and just being I would say a somewhat historian of the sport. I'm not as intelligent or as knowledgeable as some of these guys that have a lot of background with NASCAR from like the 60s and 70s and everything. But I'll tell you kind of my thoughts on it and what he meant to the sport and everything else. So we're going to cover that right now. So Dale Earnhardt won his championships from 1980 to 94. His first one was with Osterland Racing, Rod Osterland. And that was the number 2 car. It was like the blue and the yellow one. So interesting, that team only raced in Cup Series for 3 years and was dissolved. And, bought out or something. But after that, he went to Bud Moore, and then he went to Richard Childress, which is where he got his other 6 championships from, winning his last one in 94. So quick little interesting thing about Earnhardt compared to Jimmy Johnson, and I'm just going to say Jeff Gordon. I'm kind of leaving Richard Petty out of this one because I just felt like I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just leaving him out because I don't think it's kind of fair to compare him in this situation to what I'm about to do. So Earnhardt had the biggest time span of the championships from winning the first one to winning the last one than Jimmy Johnson or Jeff Gordon. He had a 14-year time span, which to me is pretty crazy. Johnson's was like 10 years, something like that, and Jeff's was even shorter. Jeff's was from like 96 to 2001, so his was not even, it was under 10 years. He won his championships and he was done. So I'll also do some more comparisons real quick. Actually, I'll kind of hold off on that. So moving forward, what did I think of Dale Sr. As a driver, person, father, whatever you want to call it. So growing up, I lived in the southern part of Virginia, and you either loved Dale Earnhardt Sr. or you hated him. And you hated him with a strong passion. Because while Dale may not have embraced it or supported it, where I lived, me, not you, me, the people associated with liking Dale Earnhardt were your typical redneck southern flag waving Piggly Wiggly cashiers. Not that I've never shopped at the Piggly Wiggly, but I'm just saying. It was just your typical I'm a Denny's waitress or something like that. You know, like uh, my neighbors were decent enough people, but complete, you know, rebel flying racist rednecks. You know, loved them to death, good people, but that's just what they were. You know, um, so I didn't like the fans. I felt like they stood for a establishment that I wasn't okay with. I didn't like how they embraced his racing style, and the the shitty part about it is Dale didn't always race that way. Um, but it seemed like, you know, as a hater, you would always cherry pick all the bad stuff that he would do. So I didn't like Senior, um, and I didn't like his fans. I didn't think that he was at the time. I didn't think that he was really good for the sport. But I was a young kid, you know. I was pretty young when he was, you know, on his way out the door. And to be quite honest, um, when I was growing up, he was done winning championships. You know, I started getting NASCAR like around like right at 94, like 93. And he won that one in 94. And after that, it was a Rainbow Warrior. So I was all Jeff Gordon because I felt like that related to some of the stuff in my life and everything else. And yeah, so I was just a Gordon fan. So now let's move forward. Now, as an adult, researching Dale Earnhardt Sr., knowing a lot about sport, always keeping up with NASCAR, um, I think that Dale Earnhardt was a really good guy. I think he meant well. Um, I think that he dished it and he could take it for the most part. There were times where I think he was a crybaby about things. I've seen historical archives where that clearly shows that. Um, I'm not saying it was a complete bad thing, but I felt like I'll say this: Dale Senior got penalized. He got penalized, but was it either had to be something kind of extreme that he did, repetitive, you know, or it had to be pretty obvious, I guess I should say, when he did get penalized. It seems like he got away with quite a bit, and I'm not saying there weren't other drivers that got away with quite a bit, but it seemed like Dale Earnhardt kind of got away with a little bit more than others. I think a lot of that was due to his popularity. The era of NASCAR that we were in, it was still very much that backwoods, you know, Southern good old boy, um, you know, I'm the inspector, but you're my hero deep down. I love you to death type of thing, like cut you a break type of deal. Um, so yeah, I think a lot of that. I think a lot of the people that worked in NASCAR kind of wanted to see him do good because Dale symbolized a lot of them. You know, hardworking blue collar people not getting paid. You know what I mean? So I think he got away with a lot. Um, you know, I think Dale was in the era that he was going to win in. I think with now the way the regulations are and the rules and the boundaries you can't cross, I don't think Dale Earnhardt would have survived. I think he would have been really good, but you know, nowadays if you do some of the kind of punts or boots or moves that he did back then, now you're either going to tear up your car way quicker and you're going to get a flat tire, or you're going to lose aero, or you're going to get parked by NASCAR. It's different now. The bumping and banging and rubbing and everything is still there, but it's almost like political. Like it almost is there, as you kind of have to know when to play the old school NASCAR game. You know what I mean? If you don't want to get consequences. So I think Dale was really good for the sport. A lot of people say, "Oh, the sport died when Dale died," so the reason why they say that is that Earnhardt was, in a lot of ways, the voice for NASCAR. It reminds me of guys like kind of like Jeff Burton. I know some people don't like Jeff Burton, but towards the end of his career, he kind of tried to be more of a spokesperson. Like, hey, NASCAR needs this. NASCAR, guys kind of like Tony Stewart. He kind of reminds me of those guys, but more of an influencer. You know what I mean? Like more of an enforcer. And he would call out NASCAR, and I felt like the thing about Dale that was interesting was NASCAR never really could they kind of had to listen to him because he was just so damn popular and had such a fan base to where it was like, well, if we don't please Dale, we're not going to please all the 75% of the fans that attend the race to see Dale. You know what I mean? Like they kind of like had to listen to him. I feel like. I really do. And, NASCAR will deny that all day long like they do everything these days. But, uh, so yeah, and I think that for the most part, the changes that he wanted to see as the sport progressed were the right things for the sport. I mean, obviously he grew up in it. He raced in sport for goddamn near 70, 80, 90, basically 30 years. He raced in the cup level. Just crazy. I mean, I think he started like basically 75 was his first cup year, I think. So, yeah, 85, 95. Yeah, almost 30 years, which is wild. Um, but yeah, so, and people don't really remember this, but the marketing and the branding that he brought to NASCAR with Jeff Gordon was amazing. Um, it's been kind of said, even by Dale Earnhardt Jr., that while people think that him and Jeff were huge rivals, and this is why I love Jeff, because they were smart and they worked together. And Earnhardt Jr. firmly believes that him and Gordon behind the scenes were pretty good buddies. And as far as working together to market NASCAR better and actually play that rivalry game like to its full potential on purpose, that was a very real thing and that was being done intentionally a lot of times. Um, that's I would say that's a fact. Dale Jr.'s talked about it before. They won't come out and say it directly, I think, just because they don't want to make the sport kind of maybe look not so much in a good way. But I think that was done. So also, now as far as Dale Earnhardt himself, like I said, I think he was a super charming guy. Um, Dale had that ability also, going back to his racing style, to really. He was one of those guys to where he was that guy that didn't always have the best uh, personality traits or whatever, or driving styles, but people would say, "Oh man, that's just Dale." You know what I mean? Like he's the type of guy to where he would purposely wreck you, move you out of the way on purpose. He knew he did it on purpose. And then you'd come up to get mad at him and have a conversation with him and want an apology from him. And by the end of the conversation, you're apologizing to Dale. You know what I mean? He was just that type of dude. I mean, he just, there was multiple times he did that to guys, and they were like, I thought I was mad at that son of a bitch, Um, and, he kind of had that ability to just kind of, I don't know, it's really weird. He just was able to do it. And even with like him and Rusty Wallace, it's almost like he didn't really like hate Rusty. He, you know, he would piss off Rusty. Rusty would get furious, and then Dale like, "Oh, come on, Rusty," and just like throw him off, and um, so Dale was real good about that. He was good about being able to run you up into the damn fence and then like just talk his way out of it. And I felt like Dale though was kind of a double standard. It seems like from if you watch interviews with guys like Chocolate Myers and stuff that used to be his gas man and everything, it seems like though Dale could wreck the hell out of you, and if you try to wreck Dale back, it just was like the end of the world. He'd come back, all the fans would be pissed off. It's I don't know. He kind of handicapped the sport in that type of way. I feel like he kind of because you were automatically a bad person if you took out Dale, God forbid, and to me that's not really a tough guy. That's just you know being able to get away with stuff. And Dale was a tough driver. He was a tough dude, but he also kind of played that card too. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so and there were times where he was, he did get knocked out, and he was upset about it. And there were other times where he blew it off or whatever. And for the most part, he had a big enough points lead or whatever. He didn't really care. But so Dale basically stopped winning championships when Jeff Gordon came around. Jeff Gordon was racing for 2 years before Jeff won championship, and then after that, Dale didn't win anymore. Um, Same way with Jeff Gordon. Jeff stopped winning championships basically around Jimmy Johnson's era when he got into the scene. Um, and I will say this: the biggest difference between people want to compare Jimmy to Dale Earnhardt Sr., you got to think of one thing. One thing. Jimmy Johnson, for a fact, came in on a solid race team, a huge mega budget, and yes, a mentor and champion, Jeff Gordon, to help Jimmy Johnson. Dale Earnhardt, when he came in for Richard Childress and all those guys, that Richard Childress team was almost about to shut down. They didn't have a pot to piss in. He didn't have any mentorship, nothing. And to win those championships, you can say what you want, but to compare that to Jimmy Johnson is like apples to oranges. It's just not even close. So if you ask my opinion, Jimmy Johnson had more finesse. Jimmy Johnson was more agile. But Jimmy Johnson led from the front a lot. And he stayed in the front. And he started in the front. And that era that he was racing, that was everything. And if you could stay up there, you were going to probably, win or do very well most of the races. And I'm not saying, look, Jeff Gordon will tell you that Jimmy Johnson's the best driver of all time. And Jimmy Johnson will probably tell you Jeff Gordon's the best driver of all time. If you really want to get into it, that's a whole separate deal. But I think while Dale did kind of beat and bump his way to championships, that's been like a quote, so to say. I would say at least in the early years, Dale had to fight more for his championships than Johnson did. I won't say he's a better driver, but I think he had to dig a little deeper. If you guys want to compare that, take it how you want to. Dale is a family guy. It's been said by Dale Earnhardt Jr. He doesn't talk about now. It seems like he's kind of trying not to put a bad light on his father anymore. But Jr. said that on a Rogan podcast, Joe Rogan podcast years ago, that his dad was, well, by today's standards, kind of a shitbag father. Let's just be real. It's pretty absent. Didn't really spend time with him. Was overly hard on him for no reason. To some extent, didn't really give a damn what he did. Hanging out. They're funny stories now, but hanging out, partying with guys like Ken Schrader for a whole week and going to strip clubs underage and getting drunk in parking lots and stuff. So that's all on a Dirty Mo Media podcast you can listen to with Dale Earnhardt Jr. But no surprise there. But yeah, I don't think he was the best dad. I think that he didn't kind of start wanting to be Junior's friend until the late mid-90s when Junior became a bigger deal. I don't know really the whole story behind all that, it sounds like Earnhardt just, grew up in that tough, you know, not show love to your son type of era. And, I get that, just that old school thing, like, I love you, but I ain't going to say it type of deal. And I'm not going to show it, but, I love you, son type of thing. So, I get that. But Joe wasn't the best dad. But I guess, you got to be an absent father and everything else to really focus on racing. But yeah, so wrapping it up, I do think that going kind of back again also to where, NASCAR died when Dale died. It didn't die when Dale died, but it did slowly kind of decline, but it was kind of, I think, going to start heading that way no matter what. I think that Dale just kind of happened to pass away a couple years before that, Boulder was going to start tumbling down the hill a little bit more. Because the mid 2000s and early 2000s, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, those are pretty good racing years for the most part. They weren't all bad. They had some good racing. So, but as far as some of the personality and everything, and um, just the stigma of his fans and everything I was talking about, those started to go away. I remember as a kid seeing a ton of like Dale Earnhardt, Rebel Confederate flags and stuff, and when he left, 75% of that stuff went away. In my opinion, it did, especially depending on what parts of the country you were in. But yeah, anyways, that's my thing on Dale. I don't really have anything else for him. Let me know what you guys think. I love to hear, personal meetings that they had with Dale or times they recall. The one frustrating thing I will say is that, and I get it, but you do see some of these like Fox, documentaries on Earnhardt or whatever, but a lot of them I feel like don't kind of give you the real truth about Dale. They don't tell you the times where he purposely knocked the hell out of some dude and showed it. Darrell Waltrip talked about it a couple of times during his broadcast days. But it's I feel like NASCAR, the more time goes on, the more they try to put Earnhardt in this like Powerpuff Girl light. And it's like, yeah, he's the intimidator, but they don't really show like why he was the intimidator. Like, it's more of like a watered down version. I don't like that. I don't know why they're doing that. I think it goes back to the whole like, let's be PC, soft generation type of thing, to be honest with you. But let me know what you guys thought. I've been really wanting to do this video for a long time. I do have a lot of respect for Earnhardt Sr. I think he was a pretty good dude, but man, as a kid, I hated that son of a bitch. And I liked watching Gordon whip his ass. And Earnhardt would tell you Gordon whooped his ass straight up most of the time. That just is what it is. And Gordon, he'll tell you that too. But anyways, I'll catch you guys later. I'm gonna do some more videos on some NASCAR updates of teams shutting down here pretty soon, so that'll all be pretty good. Right now, NASCAR is going through a pretty tough time, even though they don't want to admit it. With teams shutting down that have been around for a while. So, peace out, guys. Take care.